Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. Our co-host, Miss Angela Reyes, here for Front Page News.
Okay, so I think we're still talking this Biden student loan forgiveness plan, which is hanging in the balance after yesterday's oral arguments at the Supreme Court. In the last hour, Leonard was asking if Biden can get credit for this or not. And as you all know, in most instances where something is halted, you can't necessarily receive credit, but I think we should give an E for effort. The Department of Education's $400 billion student loan forgiveness plan would impact more than 40 million borrowers in this country, especially the more than 26 million who've already applied for the $10,000 in loan forgiveness. In permanent loan forgiveness, by the way, because you all remember in March of 2020, when Donald Trump relied on the HEROES Act to temporarily relieve student loan debt, and Joe Biden did the same thing. And he decided, after receiving pressure from progressives, to make this plan permanent. 6 states since then, Nebraska, Missouri, Arkansas, Iowa, Kansas, and South Carolina sued because they thought that Joe Biden was engaging in executive overreach, as well as with the Department of Education, violating separation of powers. Since then, of course, the oral arguments were heard yesterday in the Supreme Court. And while it's not probable, it is possible that the whole case is thrown out on the technicality of injury. Some of the Supreme Court justices yesterday were questioning whether or not the 6 states and the 2 private plaintiffs have standing to sue based on the scope of injury.
So whose fault is this? Whose fault is it that these kids won't be getting their student loans?
So if the Supreme Court rules in their majority opinion that will likely come out in June, that the Biden administration did in fact engage in overreach, it will be the Supreme Court, which you know has a 6-3 mostly conservative majority.
Yes, and see the problem, and you explain that better than they do, because the problem I have with Democrats is their messaging always sucks, and it's just amazing to me how they can find ways to make the headlines huge in regards to getting rid of student loan debt, to the point that everyone will run around saying Joe Biden is getting rid of student loans, but then when it gets blocked, they're quiet about that. Like, they should be loud about saying who and what are stopping the student loans.
Let me push back. There were several people, members of Congress, kids, young people, college students outside of the Supreme Court yesterday protesting this. What you will recall is even when the Supreme Court took up Obamacare, the Obama administration didn't make a big deal out of it until the actual opinion is issued, which won't be until June. So I'm sure there are folks revving up to say this actually wasn't engaging in overreach. We relied on a provision that says that the Department of Education has the authority to make these decisions. I think that you have to give it a little bit of time.
But
why, I know that it's,
But why wait until it happens? They don't wait until it happens to announce that they're going to try to get the student loans forgiven. Like, they don't wait until student loans are forgiven to put that headline out there. So why wait until it happens to get blocked to make noise about it?
Well, I think they wanted to ensure that borrowers could apply for this $10,000 in permanent loan forgiveness. And furthermore, again, I think they have made noise about it. Maybe you didn't see it because you was watching Fox News.
No, I do watch Fox News as well as CNN and MSNBC. But no, they do not. You know they do not make noise about it like they should.
As an attorney, I would say that I think it would be errant on their part to say, listen, they blocked this before it was actually blocked. The arguments were just in.
Can you say they're attempting to block it, just like they're attempting to forgive people's student loans?
I do think they should do that. I do think they should do that, and they can do that better. That they are attempting to block. These are the states that have sued. Apparently, your home state doesn't think anybody in their state needs student loan relief, which is surprising because it's one of the poorest states in the union. Imagine that. That's
a fact. But, because what's going to happen here is all folks are going to say is this administration just gave us more lip service. That's all they're going to say. They're not going to point to the actual people who blocked the issue. They're going to put this on the Biden administration and say they just gave us more lip service.
Where we
another promise that didn't come through. That's what they're going to say.
Well, you said earlier today that you're stupid. Since I know you're smart, I know that you will use your platform to tell people who is actually blocking this and what they can do to push back if they want their $10,000 in permanent loan forgiveness.
It depends. If I can do it without looking like I'm caping for Democrats, I will.
You shouldn't look like that. You should look like you're caping for people to get some type of restorative or reparative justice in this country.
I'll do that. That I'll do.
How about that?
That I'll do.
Well, thank you, Miss Rye, for checking in on our front page news.
Tell them where to follow you, Angela Rye.
At Angela Rye on Instagram. Until TikTok is banned, it's at Angela_Rye, and the same on Twitter. It's good to see you.
They don't let you be on TikTok? That's crazy. You've been doing the stiff hips dance before it was popular.
I have TikTok, but I don't know how much longer any of us are going to have it here in this country.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Now, let's open up the phone lines. Charlamagne's been talking about this. 800-585-1051. Now, a Chick-fil-A in Pennsylvania is banning anyone under the age of 16 without an accompanied adult. Let's talk about it. Does that make sense? Do you like it? Do you love it?
And I've been seeing this a lot. We've been seeing this a lot. Like a lot of restaurants are banning teenagers and young kids from being in these establishments, without adults, because these kids be wilding. They be cursing out employees. You know what I mean? They be damaging property. There be fights, all types of stuff happening.
But now you have to have security for all these restaurants, because who's going to control it? You can't have the employees that are selling, chicken and French fries and shakes to police the kids as well. So I don't know if that's a good idea. And they used to do that in Virginia at the mall, and I hated it.
I think security at all these establishments is great. Like you think you're in Atlanta right now. Think about what's happening in malls like Lenox, where they got metal detectors and all types of stuff, and shootings and everything be happening. Like, I think all of these public establishments should have armed security. I absolutely positively believe that.
Well, let's talk about it. What's your thoughts? 800-585-1051. It's The Breakfast Club. Good morning.
Wake that ass up early in the morning. The Breakfast Club.